Hey dudes, my name's Blekoh, and about a year ago, I released a video where I went over how much money my Steam games have made so far. Since they've been out for a few years now, I kinda just wanna revisit them and see how they're still doing. Maybe answer a few questions you guys had with the last video. So let's get into it. Alright, so first off, let's start with KIRO, which was a real-time text-adventure horror game where you type your commands and the character reacts in real time. I actually really enjoyed making this game, and I think it's actually pretty fun. But since it started life as a game jam game, it did end up being pretty short. So that's why the price was pretty low, at $2.99. I actually even released a port of this game for Commodore 64, which was a neat little project too. Anyway, let's first recap a little bit. KIRO was launched on October 16, 2020, and here are the stats I gave about a year ago on November 11, 2021. So with a development time of 1.5 months and a sale price of $2.99, it launched with 550 wishlists, which I feel like the wishlist before launch heavily influenced how the sales will go. I didn't spend any money on marketing, and at the time of the last video, it sold 115 copies, which came to a total revenue before any cuts or taxes to about $345. After Steam's cut, that comes to about $241.50. And then of course, to launch the game on Steam, it costs $100. So the total profit before tax comes to about $141.50. Let's see how that compares with today, which is November 5th, 2022. It's now sold 165 copies over its lifetime, which brings the amount before Steam's cut to $493.35, and after the cut to about $345.36. And finally, before taxes, it comes to a total profit of $245.36. So honestly, this game is still going pretty consistently. I mean, it's not making the millinos, but it's not completely dead, since it sold around the same amount this past year as it did when it first launched. I'd love to revisit this type of game at some point, and maybe even make a cooler sequel or something. Okay, so let's move on to Beardy McStrongArm, which is a 2D platformer, where you play as a dude with an insanely big arm with his flying cat friend. And like I said before, this was my first game I did the full release process with. It was more of a game to learn how everything will go, and I streamed the development, taking suggestions from people as I went. So I wouldn't really say the end result was all that great, but I still had fun making it. It took about 1 year to develop, which was in between my full-time job, and streaming, and just life stuff in general. So I definitely wasn't working on it all day every day. It had a sales price of $7.99 and launched with 256 wishlists, which were gained from having the store page up for only a few weeks before launch. At the time of the last video, it sold 49 copies, with the sales before Steam cut coming to $392, and after the Steam cut to about $274.40, so the total profit after marketing it for $700 and the $100 Steam fee came to negative $525.60. And here's how it compares to where it's at today. It sold 55 copies with lifetime sales at $439.45 before the Steam cut, and after the cut to $306.62, with the total lifetime profit at negative $492.38. So this one definitely has slowed down quite a bit, and I think it's kind of run its course to fizzle out, which is fine with me. I learned a lot from making it and doing the whole process, but ultimately, it's kind of a frustrating game to play, unlike KIRO, which is intense but still feels pretty fun. In the last video, I tried to come up with some tips based on what I've learned so far to help people with selling their game and learn from my mistakes. I still stand by those tips, so for this video, I wanted to go through some questions and comments other people had. The first one is by Eric Young VFX, and he gave 3 tips based on his 16 games that he's sold so far, where better games don't always sell more, fun games do. Low price is not a bad idea as it makes it more accessible, and you don't need to update to use visibility rounds, but it can help. I definitely agree with most of these, and I like the first point a lot, where it's not really about how long you spend on your game. If it's not fun, then it's probably just not gonna do as well as a game that took way less time, but's just more fun to play. The next one's by Jonathan Mattiano. How long do you consider enough time to publish the game once the Steam page is launched? From what I've seen, I feel like anywhere from 4 to 8 months is pretty good time to have a store page up, to start gaining wishlists before launch. Don't quote me on this, but I feel like I read somewhere one time that people lose hype after 6 months. So if you want people to still be hyped about your game, but you also want the store page up long enough to collect wishlists, that's probably a really good amount of time. But of course you need to make the store page really attractive. I mean, it's the only thing people see before deciding to buy your game. Here's one by Skeffels, who said, "Thanks for sharing, this is super interesting. Do you think that advertising helped increase the wish lists and sales at all?" So in my last video, I kinda told people I think advertising, specifically just running some Google ads, is a waste. But what I really mean by that is if you really don't know what you're doing with advertising, it definitely will just be money wasted. If you're experienced with SEO optimizations and know exactly how to find your target audience and what they want to see, it probably will help a decent amount. You really gotta treat your ads like a YouTube video thumbnail and title, because it has to be really enticing to click on. Also, getting YouTubers and streamers to play the game can help as well. Alright, let's do one more. HP Lovecraft Mac and Cheese asked, why is the first week such a big slice of the total revenue of a game? I read that week 1 tends to comprise 20% of all revenue of the entire first year. Does the Steam search show the game a lot more in the first week of launch? The answer to this is yes. Yes, it does. The first week is a big week for a few reasons. First of all, leading up to your launch date, the game is displayed on the upcoming releases page, which usually attracts a lot of wish lists. Then once it's launched, it's on the new releases page of Steam, and it gets pushed out sort of like how YouTube videos will get pushed out by YouTube early on, and then fizzle out unless it gains traction. It's the same thing, and then all your wishlisters get an email that say your game launched. Finally, if you buy a game and play it, your friends will see that on their Steam page, so there's a chance they'll also buy the game. And maybe their friends too. So all these things come together, and in Steam's eyes, if you pull big numbers early on, they'll try to get it in the eyes of more people. So it's sort of like an exponential effect if you make your game sell as good as it possibly can early on. Alright dudes, hope that helps a bit. I'm still focused on making my new VR game, so if you want to follow the development on that, you can check it out here. Anyway, that's all I got. See ya!